Ruler Tutankhamun is a subject of much discussion and restored examinations among scholarly circles. The old Egyptian pharaoh took the privileged position when he was just 8 or 9 years of age and managed Egypt for about 10 years until his passing in roughly 1324 BC. In spite of the fact that his standard was significant for completing many changes, Lord Tutankhamun stayed a minor figure in old Egyptian history up to this point when English prehistorian Howard Carter found Ruler Tut's burial place in 1922 when he dug and entered the pharaoh's burial place, which had stayed immaculate for around 3,200 years, as per the English Everyday Express site. The burial chamber contained in excess of 5,000 curios, including a final resting place, an overlaid veil, and high positions. It took Carter 10 years to record every one of the things, yet the one thing he didn't find was any record of how Tutankhamun passed on. There are no enduring records of the conditions of Lord Tut's passing. Murder was conjectured as a potential reason after X-beams in 1968 uncovered 2 bone pieces inside the skull. Speculations then, at that point, arose that the youthful lord had been ruthlessly killed by foes during an especially fierce period in Egyptian history. As Mr. Carter and his partners eliminated the body, it was harmed, and Ruler Tut was stuck to his final resting place with the saps utilized in the embalmment cycle. As the method involved with eliminating the body from the casket started, portions of the mummy were dissected, and it was hard to recognize a portion of the harm from the preservation interaction from harm from Tutankhamun's lifetime. Be that as it may, further examination of the 1968 X-beams, as well as CT checks, put the hypothesis of homicide inside the domain of plausibility. The bone sections in Ruler Tutankhamun's skull pit matched 2 lacking parts of bone from his most memorable vertebra, situated in the neck. The pieces were free and not canvassed in treating tar, permitting researchers to presume that they were the aftereffect of the mummy being opened up. In the event that these bits of bone were taken out before death, we expect that they would have adhered to the tar inside the skull, not been free similar to that, radiologist Ashraf Salim told Public Geographic. Salim accepts the bones might have been ousted during the underlying endeavors to eliminate Lord Tut's popular brilliant veil, which was firmly stuck to his body. He addressed the likelihood that he was killed, saying, "I believe that is the finish of that problem. We can now close this document." He was not killed. His exploration group turned their concentration to Lord Tut's left leg, proposing that a cracked femur might had a critical impact in his passing. It has been hypothesized that a blend of numerous weakening problems, a messed-up leg, and an extreme contamination might have caused his demise. The paste leaked through the injury and came into direct contact with the break, and turned out to be hard, which is something we have not found in some other region. "We were unable to track down any indications of bone recuperating," Salim said. "Since there have been no antitoxins for a long time, all things considered, an extreme contamination came about because of the break. This might have killed him," he added. Radiologist John Benson told Public Geographic in 2006 that a messed-up leg was the reason for Tutankhamun's demise. From now onward, indefinitely quite a while, the reason for Tutankhamun's demise involved contention, and there were numerous paranoid ideas recommending that he didn't bite the dust, yet was killed. On Walk 8, 2005, because of the utilization of 3D CT filters on Tutankhamun's mummy, Egyptian paleontologist Zahi Hawass expressed that there was no proof that Tutankhamun had been killed. He added that the opening in his skull was not made by a blow to the head as recently accepted, however was made after death, with the end goal of embalmment. Hawass made sense of the break in the left femur, which has for some time been related with the death hypothesis, as the consequence of a crack in the femur that Tutankhamun had supported before his demise, and that the irritation coming about because of this break might have been the reason for his passing. Late investigations have shown that the top of Tutankhamun's oral pit was deficient. Tutankhamun was 170 centimeters tall, and the crossover length of his skull was bigger than typical, driving some to propose Marfan disorder as the reason for his initial demise, a hereditary condition sent through autosomal predominant qualities. The last report of the Egyptian archaeological group was that the reason for death was blood harming coming about because of the crack of Tutankhamun's thigh bone, which prompted gangrene, the passing and deterioration of cells and tissues coming about because of the discharge of proteins from dead muscles because of the absence of oxygen contacting them through the blood. Before this report, there were endeavors to decide the reason for death utilizing X-beams on Tutankhamun's mummy, directed at the College of Liverpool and the College of Michigan in 1968 and 1978, separately. The two colleges found a dim spot at the lower part of the rear of Tutankhamun's skull, which was deciphered as a cerebrum drain, prompting the spread of the speculation that he had been hit on the head, which prompted a mine discharge and afterward demise. A review distributed in WOC 2010 made sense of that the reason for Tutankhamun's demise was jungle fever and complexities from a wrecked leg. The concentrate likewise demonstrated the presence of a few hereditary sicknesses coming about because of a hereditary imperfection acquired in the family. On November 4, 1922, when the English paleologist and expert throughout the entire existence of Old Egypt Howard Carter was exhuming at the entry to the passage prompting the burial place of Ramses VI in the Valley of the Rulers, he saw a huge basement and kept on unearthing cautiously until he went into the room containing the burial chamber of Tutankhamun. On the walls of the room containing the burial place were brilliant drawings that told as pictures the tale of Tutankhamun's flight to the universe of the dead. The scene was extremely great for the researcher Howard Carter, who was checking out at the room through an opening with a light in his grasp. It is said that his aide asked him, "Could you at any point see anything?" Carter replied, "Indeed, I see great things." On February 16, 1923, Howard Carter, 1874 to 1939, was the main individual in over 3,000 years to go to the floor of the room containing the final resting place of Tutankhamun. Carter saw a wooden box with gold decorates in the room. At the point when he lifted the case, he saw that the crate was covering a subsequent box finished with gold decorates. At the point when he lifted the subsequent box, he saw that the subsequent box was covering a third box decorated with gold. At the point when he lifted the third box, Carter arrived at the stone final resting place, which was covered with a thick layer of cut stone looking like a sculpture of Tutankhamun. At the point when he lifted this stone cover, Carter arrived at the vitally brilliant final resting place, which was looking like a sculpture of Tutankhamun. This brilliant final resting place was covering two other brilliant caskets, looking like sculptures of the youthful pharaoh. Howard experienced issues lifting the third brilliant cover that covered Tutankhamun's mummy from the mummy, so Carter felt that presenting the cover to the blasting intensity of the Egyptian summer sun would be sufficient to isolate the brilliant cover from the mummy. However, his endeavors fizzled, and he was at long last compelled to slice the brilliant cover down the middle to arrive at the mummy, which was enveloped by layers of silk. Subsequent to taking off the fabric cover, he found Tutankhamun's mummy in full enhancement, including pieces of jewelry, rings, a crown, and a staff, which were all made of unadulterated gold. To eliminate these antiquities, the uncovering group needed to isolate the skull and principal bones from their joints. In the wake of eliminating the gems, the group reassembled the mummy's skeleton and set it in a wooden final resting place.